Hey guys, today I'm going to talk about immigration attorney, reality versus expectation, $150,000 starting salary. So let me explain immigration. I've always been interested in immigration. My parents were immigrants. They came to the U.S. 50 bucks, and that was it. So I've always been interested in immigration, but the expectation is you're going to make a bunch of money and you're going to help very poor people in need. And that's what I believed when I went to law school. I volunteered at an organization called CAIR, CAIR. I think they're either in Virginia or Washington, D.C., but we would go to a deportation facility. And I volunteered until my bar exam. I even volunteered a few weeks before I had to take my bar exam. I was still at the detention facility. You go there, they check you in, they have a lawyer because we're again in law school. And then you fill out forms, you go to the detention facility, which is like a basketball court. It is a basketball court. Then you meet people, and then the reason I was so important was I spoke Mandarin. So yes, that is not a language that's super common up north. So I went there, we would get a list of people who spoke Mandarin. I would write down their stories. I would see if they had any legal things, and then I would write a recommendation and follow-up to give to the attorney who was handling these cases. Now, a deportation facility is basically a prison. It's basically a prison. I remember one of the stories was the guy got put there because he was a illegal immigrant, and he was, quote, accused of stabbing his neighbor to steal an Xbox to resell. And these are the cases I deal with. So it's not like these multi-billionaires and millionaires. These are people stabbing each other for a Xbox, and now they're being deported, but they want to say that they didn't have criminal backgrounds, because deportation, really, if you are accused of a crime, you're getting deported unless there is a very interesting circumstance, or you can provide information that would benefit, like evidence that it wasn't you who stabbed, but it was this other gang member, and then you could throw the whole gang into jail. So something that would outweigh them wanting to deport you, which is actually a very heavy burden. But when I started with immigration, I realized that the majority of my clients actually are rich. They're doctors, they're nurses, they have a lot of money coming in from the US, and that's why they're coming to the US. We had a doctor from Venezuela and a doctor from Colombia, and they made in the US 180 and 240. So this is the definition of someone who's probably not going to end up in a detention facility. They have lovely families. I talked to them, and they are being sponsored by a very big company. At the time, it was Me Clinicas, which was obviously a Spanish hospital doctor type of thing. It's called, so Me Clinica is my clinic, right? So it's like a clinic for people in the Spanish community to go see these doctors, and who obviously spoke Spanish, which was kind of weird because I didn't speak any Spanish. But back to the issue at hand, all my clients, once I worked at an immigration law firm, were rich as blank. I was like, oh my goodness, because you have all their information, you have a docket this big on them, their resumes, their education, the awards they won, because you're representing them. You're saying to the United States Immigration Office, hey, these people are awesome people. You should get them here, and they should stay, and you should give them a green card. What I specialized in was HB1, H1B, HB1, huh? I'm thinking of HEB because I want to buy some lemonade right now, and I might go after this. I gotta take Norman out. I have an interview tomorrow in the morning time, which I haven't really, I don't prepare for my interviews, because if you like me, you like me. If you don't, you don't. It's not like I'm starving for a job right now. But it's interesting to go to these interviews. So back to the immigration attorney. I think immigration it's a very interesting field today with Donald Trump. But it's an interesting topic nonetheless, because people immigrate to countries that have a lot of money, and that can produce. So these doctors, one of them was making $240,000 plus in the US, and that actually was a low end salary. He should probably be making $400K, and he eventually will after he becomes a US citizen, I'm sure. But in his home country, he's not making even 1/10 that much or even 1/20th that much. So that's why he wants to come to America. And when you're dealing with these people, they're very smart. They're smarter than I am. And I'm just a service. I'm, hey, let me help you. And they're incredibly on top of things. So even if you forget something, they'll call the office and then they'll be like, hey, what's going on here? They'll go to the Me Clinica. And so it's very fascinating to me how immigration, like when you talk about it, you have two different levels, right? You have this level where people can afford lawyers and like me. And then you have this level where people are being deported and they can only go off law students. And they can't afford a lawyer. Or if they get a lawyer, it's the court assigned lawyer that they're guaranteed. But even a illegal immigrant actually is not guaranteed the U.S. Constitution, which is for American citizens, United States citizens, right? So there is even a lower level of what we owe a illegal immigrant in the U.S. So I'm pretty much pretty conservative, but for some things like immigration, I take a liberal stance. I am a big supporter of the DREAM Act. I think that if you serve the military or if you're going to get a college degree, if you can bring something useful and do something useful in the United States like the military, why would we not want this individual? Because they have done something useful for us and they pay taxes and all of these things. Like, it seems kind of silly to say, oh, no, we don't want you to pay taxes. We don't want you to serve in the military. We just want you to be here so we can deport you at any time we want. Which is not good for them because it creates instability. It creates like fear. What the trade-off is, hey, I know I'm going off a really bad tangent right now. Because I'm supposed to tell you how to make money as an immigration attorney. But you have to have a little bit of heart. I think immigration attorneys have more heart than like patent attorneys. And that's why I was attracted to it. And I did get an A in my immigration class. I think it was like the only A I got in law school. I got a few A minuses though. No, it wasn't the only A. That would be ridiculous. But you do have a lot of heart because you do see people in not the best circumstances. Like, how many people are going to give up their Saturdays to go to pretty much a prison to have people like talk trash about you because not everyone wants you to be there, and you're like bright-eyed and you're a law student and now you're taking notes and then you have to give opinions that the person that you give them to doesn't even probably read, but you think you're helping, but like in actuality, are you helping? And when I was working for these doctors and nurses, and I did a ton of nurses, immigration for nurses, I remember my favorite one, her name was Maria Gonzalez. And the reason I can tell your name, because there are a million Maria Gonzalez's who are nurses. I even had two more, just from that agency. And she was from the Dominican Republic. And she was a great nurse. She had a young daughter. And we helped her through her whole immigration process to become a United States citizen. This company I was working for, and I got to be there for the very end of it, which was great. It is a great feeling, but when you want to open an immigration law firm like I have done, you have to work for EB-5 visas, which is very, very rich individuals, multi-millionaires, if not billionaires, and that's who you serve. Now, that's the one issue I have with lawyers, is the best and brightest lawyers that can do the most good for the poorer community will never serve them. Because they're too busy making a ton of money and helping the richer community take advantage of the poorer community. And that's why I quit immigration for a little bit of time, because I could have worked at that immigration law firm. I could have been an immigration attorney. And every client of mine would have been a doctor, a scientist, a movie star, something like that. But having had the experience I had in law school, I know that those people are not in any danger of being deported. They're fine. They have money. They are absolutely fine. But the people who need the most help are, let's say you go to law school, you get straight A's. Or you're going to work for a big law firm, for a big company, yeah. That's why you went to law school. How many of those people in the top 10% actually help the bottom 10% of income earners in the US. And that's where you see the divide. And that's the reality of it. The reality of it is you cannot be a bleeding heart as a immigration attorney, because you will be the first one to bleed out. And you do need clients who pay you lots of money. You do need clients, like when you watch these movies like Daredevil and stuff, where the main character is a lawyer and they're helping all these poor clients. Like, how does their electricity turn on? Who pays for water? Like in a movie, it's a movie, right? Like no one needs to worry about that type of stuff. In real life, I would love to work with people who are going to be deported and help them in a last-ditch effort. And I'm sure 90% of them, 90 to 95 to 99% of them will be deported regardless of my best efforts. But I like fighting, and that's what I love doing. I would die though. I would starve to death. There would be no home. There would be no Norman. There would be no fake glasses. There would be no Google t-shirts. There would be nothing. I would be filming. I wouldn't have internet. And that sounds hilarious to some of you guys, but the reality of immigration is the people who need the most immigration help are the people who receive it the least. And that's heartbreaking. So before we end, I think I'm just going to end because I don't want to get into the politics too much. Anyway, bye guys.